Title: One Mindset Shift That Changes Everything by AI Audiobooks Empire. Introduction. There are moments in life when a single change in perspective alters the entire course of destiny. Just as it is written, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." The way we perceive challenges, opportunities, and even ourselves determines the harvest we reap. One mindset shift can be the difference between despair and hope, between stagnation and growth, between living in shadows and walking in light. It is not the external world that dictates our future, but the lens through which we interpret it. This audiobook explores that transformative shift, the turning of the mind from limitation to possibility, from fear to faith, from weakness to wisdom. Proverbs remind us, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom. With wisdom, counsel, and understanding, we discover that the greatest battles are not fought in the marketplace or the battlefield, but within the mind. The wars of destiny are waged in silence, in the private chambers of thought, where beliefs are forged and futures are decided. Consider the farmer who plants seeds. If he believes the soil is barren, he will not sow, and thus he will never reap. But if he believes the soil is fertile, he will sow abundantly, and in due season he will harvest. The soil is the same, but the mindset changes everything. Likewise, life offers us both barren ground and fertile soil. It is our perspective that determines whether we plant or abandon the field. Through 12 chapters, we will uncover how this single shift reshapes every aspect of life. Each chapter is a lantern illuminating the path of transformation. We will journey from victimhood to responsibility, from fear to faith, from scarcity to abundance, and beyond. These shifts are not mere ideas. They are principles that, once embraced, alter the trajectory of a person's existence. By the end, you will see that true change begins not with circumstances, but with the renewing of the mind. For as the ancient wisdom declares, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Guard your thoughts, for they are the architects of your destiny." One mindset shift can indeed change everything. It can turn mourning into dancing, ashes into beauty, and impossibility into triumph. Welcome to AI Audiobooks Empire, a channel dedicated to stories and wisdom that uplift, empower, and transform lives. Please like, share, and subscribe so you can continue this journey of growth with us. Now, settle in and let's begin. One mindset shift that changes everything. Chapter 1: From Victimhood to Responsibility. When a person sees themselves as a victim, life becomes a prison of excuses. Every setback is blamed on others, every failure attributed to fate, and every disappointment becomes proof that the world is unfair. The victim mindset whispers, "It's not my fault. I cannot change this. Life has conspired against me." Yet wisdom teaches, "He that covereth his sins shall not prosper." To cover our faults with excuses is to remain bound, but to uncover them with honesty is to begin the journey toward freedom. Responsibility is the key that unlocks that prison, for when we own our choices, we reclaim our power. Taking responsibility does not mean condemning ourselves. It means acknowledging that we are the authors of our story. A wise counsel says, "The righteous falls 7 times and rises again." Rising requires admitting the fall, then choosing to stand. Responsibility transforms weakness into strength because it shifts the focus from what others did to what we can do. It is the difference between saying, "I failed because of them," and declaring, "I will rise because of me." Responsibility is not about blame, it is about empowerment. It is the realization that while we cannot rewrite yesterday, we can author tomorrow. The mindset shift from victimhood to responsibility changes everything. It teaches us that while we cannot control the winds, we can adjust our sails. Life ceases to be something happening to us and becomes something happening through us. Responsibility is the soil where growth takes root, the ground where seeds of discipline, resilience, and wisdom flourish. When we embrace responsibility, we stop waiting for rescue and begin building our own path. We stop asking, "Why me?" and start declaring, "Watch me." Responsibility is the bridge between failure and redemption. It is the courage to say, "I am not defined by what happened to me, but by how I respond." Victimhood chains us to the past, but responsibility releases us into possibility. It is the daily choice to rise, to act, to persevere. And in that choice lies true freedom, the freedom to grow, to change, and to create a destiny greater than any excuse could ever allow. Chapter 2: From Fear to Faith. Fear is a thief that robs us of courage, vision, and peace. It whispers of dangers that may never come, paralyzing us before we even begin. Fear magnifies shadows, turning small obstacles into towering giants, and convinces us that retreat is safer than progress. "The fear of man bringeth a snare," says the proverb, and indeed fear ensnares the soul, binding it with invisible chains. But faith breaks those chains, for faith sees beyond the visible into the possible. Faith declares that what is unseen is greater than what is seen, and that the promise of tomorrow outweighs the uncertainty of today. Faith is not blind optimism. It is trust in a higher wisdom. It is the assurance that even when the path is dark, the light will come. "Whoso putteth his trust in the Lord shall be safe." Faith empowers action, while fear freezes it. Fear says, "Stay where you are. It is dangerous to move." Faith replies, "Step forward, for the one who guides you is greater than the storm." The shift from fear to faith is the difference between hiding and advancing, between silence and declaration, between paralysis and progress. When we embrace faith, we discover courage we never knew we had. Fear shrinks the horizon, but faith expands it. Fear says, "What if I fail?" Faith replies, "What if I succeed?" Fear asks, "What if the storm destroys me?" Faith answers, "What if the storm strengthens me?" This mindset shift changes everything, for it transforms obstacles into opportunities and trials into testimonies. Faith does not deny the existence of challenges, it simply declares that challenges are not the end of the story. Faith is the bridge between despair and hope. It is the quiet voice that whispers, "Keep going," when logic screams, "Turn back." It is the unseen hand that steadies the trembling heart, the light that pierces the darkest night, and the strength that rises when human strength runs dry. Fear imprisons, but faith liberates. Fear diminishes, but faith magnifies. Fear looks at the storm and trembles. Faith looks at the storm and walks upon the waters. To live by faith is to live beyond limitation. It is to believe that every setback carries the seed of a comeback, that every trial carries the seed of triumph, and that every valley leads to a higher mountain. Faith is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to move forward despite it. And when we choose faith over fear, we discover that the very things meant to break us become the very things that build us. Chapter 3. From Scarcity to Abundance. Scarcity thinking convinces us that there is never enough time, money, or opportunity. It breeds envy and competition, making us clutch tightly to what little we have, as though life were a pie with only a few slices to go around. Scarcity whispers, if they succeed, you cannot. If they gain, you lose. It is a mindset that shrinks the soul, blinds the eyes, and imprisons the heart. Yet wisdom declares, the liberal soul shall be made fat. Abundance is not about possessions. It is about perspective. It is the recognition that life is not a fixed pie, but a flowing river, and rivers never run dry when they are fed by the source of all provision. An abundant mindset sees possibility where scarcity sees limitation. It believes that giving does not diminish but multiplies. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Scarcity fears loss. Abundance trusts in provision. Scarcity says, hold tightly, or you will have nothing. Abundance says, release freely, and you will have more than enough. This shift changes everything, because it moves us from hoarding to sharing, from fear to generosity, from competition to collaboration. Abundance teaches us that wealth is not measured by what we keep, but by what we give away. When we embrace abundance, we stop measuring life by what we lack and start celebrating what we have. Gratitude becomes our daily bread, and generosity our daily practice. Scarcity imprisons, but abundance liberates. Scarcity makes us anxious, but abundance gives us peace. Scarcity makes us jealous of others, but abundance makes us rejoice in their success, knowing that their gain does not diminish our own. This mindset shift opens doors to joy, peace, and prosperity, because abundance is not about having more, it is about seeing more. Abundance is the soil where dreams grow. It is the mindset that says, there is room for all of us to flourish. It is the belief that opportunities are not rare treasures to be fought over, but seeds waiting to be planted. Scarcity closes the hand, but abundance opens it. Scarcity says, there is not enough to go around. Abundance replies, there is more than enough if we choose to create, to share, and to believe. To live in abundance is to live in freedom. It is to walk through life with open hands, open heart, and open eyes. It is to see every challenge as a chance to grow, every resource as a seed to multiply, and every relationship as a gift to cherish. Abundance is not about waiting for more, it is about realizing that more is already within us, waiting to be released. And when we shift from scarcity to abundance, we discover that life is not a prison of limits, but a garden of endless possibilities. Chapter 4. From Excuses to Discipline. Excuses are the language of stagnation. They sound reasonable, even persuasive, but they lead nowhere. Excuses are the soft pillows we rest upon when effort feels too heavy, the subtle lies we tell ourselves to justify inaction. The sluggard will not plough by reason of the cold. Therefore shall he beg in harvest. Excuses delay the sowing, and thus they rob us of the harvest. They are the invisible thieves of destiny, stealing opportunities before they ever begin. Discipline, however, is the language of progress. It is the quiet strength that builds empires and shapes destinies, the unseen force that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary achievement. Discipline is not punishment. It is alignment. It is choosing what is necessary over what is easy, what is lasting over what is fleeting. He that ruleth his spirit is better than he that taketh a city. Excuses blame circumstances, but discipline masters them. Excuses say, I cannot because the conditions are not right. Discipline says, I will, because the conditions will never be perfect. The shift from excuses to discipline changes everything, because it transforms intention into action, desire into reality, and dreams into results. When we embrace discipline, we discover that consistency creates miracles. Excuses delay, discipline delivers. Excuses weaken, discipline strengthens. Excuses keep us waiting for the right moment, while discipline teaches us that the right moment is now. Discipline is the daily choice to rise above comfort, to silence the voice of procrastination, and to act even when feelings resist. It is the bridge between vision and fulfillment, the force that turns potential into performance. Discipline is the architect of character. It is the unseen hand that shapes habits, the steady rhythm that builds resilience, and the quiet determination that outlasts talent, luck, and circumstance. Excuses may win the argument in the moment, but discipline wins the reward in the end. Excuses are temporary relief. Discipline is permanent transformation. Excuses keep us bound to the past. Discipline propels us into the future. Success is not built in a day, but daily. It is the accumulation of disciplined choices, the stacking of small victories, the compounding of consistent effort. Discipline teaches us that greatness is not the result of one grand act, but of countless small acts repeated faithfully. And when we shift from excuses to discipline, we discover that the life we long for is not beyond reach, it is within reach, waiting for us to choose it, one disciplined step at a time. Chapter 5, From Complaining to Gratitude. Complaining magnifies problems and blinds us to blessings. It drains energy, poisons relationships, and corrodes the soul. Complaining is the language of discontent, the habit of rehearsing what is wrong instead of rejoicing in what is right. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. Every complaint is a seed of death, weakening hope and multiplying bitterness. Gratitude, however, magnifies blessings and shrinks problems. It heals the heart, strengthens the spirit, and restores perspective. Gratitude is the language of life, the song that turns burdens into blessings and trials into testimonies. Gratitude is not denial of hardship. It is recognition of goodness amidst hardship. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine. Gratitude does not pretend that pain is absent, it simply declares that pain is not the whole story. Complaining focuses on what is missing, but gratitude celebrates what is present. Complaining says, I deserve more. Gratitude says, I already have enough. This shift changes everything, because it transforms bitterness into joy, despair into hope, and emptiness into fullness. Gratitude is not about ignoring reality, it is about interpreting reality through the lens of blessing. When we embrace gratitude, we discover that joy is not found in circumstances, but in perspective. Complaining makes us victims, but gratitude makes us victors. Complaining chains us to dissatisfaction, but gratitude frees us to contentment. Gratitude is the seed of peace, and peace is the harvest of contentment. Gratitude teaches us that happiness is not about having everything we want, but about appreciating everything we have. It is the daily choice to see light in the midst of darkness, to count blessings instead of burdens, and to speak life instead of death. Gratitude transforms relationships. Complaining drives people away, but gratitude draws them near. Complaining breeds resentment, but gratitude builds trust. Gratitude is the oil that softens hearts, the bridge that strengthens bonds, and the melody that harmonizes differences. It is the posture of humility that says, I am thankful for you, for this moment, for this gift. Gratitude turns ordinary encounters into extraordinary experiences because it teaches us to value what others often overlook. To live with gratitude is to live with abundance. It is to walk through life with open eyes, seeing blessings in every corner. It is to wake each morning with thanksgiving, to endure each trial with hope, and to close each day with peace. Gratitude is not a feeling, it is a discipline, a choice, a mindset. And when we shift from complaining to gratitude, we discover that joy is not something we chase, it is something we cultivate. Gratitude is the seed of contentment, and contentment is the harvest of peace. Chapter 6, From Comfort to Growth. Comfort is a silent killer of potential. It lulls us into complacency, making us settle for less than we could be. Comfort whispers, stay here. It is safe. Do not risk. Do not stretch. Do not strive. Yet safety without growth becomes stagnation, and stagnation becomes decline. Woe to them that are at ease in Zion. The warning is clear. Ease without effort leads to decay. Growth, however, requires discomfort. It demands stretching, striving, and sometimes suffering. Growth is the fire that refines, the pressure that shapes, the challenge that awakens hidden strength. Growth is the fruit of challenge. Iron sharpeneth iron, just as steel is forged in fire, so character is forged in adversity. Comfort avoids pain, but growth embraces it as a teacher. Comfort says, do not try. You might fail. Growth says, try, and even in failure you will learn. Comfort seeks the path of least resistance, but growth seeks the path of transformation. The shift from comfort to growth changes everything, because it moves us from stagnation to transformation, from mediocrity to mastery, from surviving to thriving. When we embrace growth, we discover that discomfort is not our enemy, but our ally. Discomfort is the stretching of muscles that makes them stronger, the testing of faith that makes it deeper, the refining of vision that makes it clearer. Comfort keeps us small, but growth makes us strong. Comfort builds walls, but growth builds bridges. Comfort says, stay where you are. Growth says, step into the unknown, for there you will find your destiny. Growth is not accidental, it is intentional. It is the daily choice to step beyond what feels easy, to embrace the challenge that feels daunting, to endure the process that feels painful. Comfort may give temporary pleasure, but growth gives lasting transformation. Comfort may soothe the moment, but growth secures the future. The path to greatness is paved with challenges, and those challenges are not barriers, they are stepping stones. To live in growth is to live in courage. It is to see every obstacle as an opportunity, every trial as a teacher, and every discomfort as a doorway to strength. Comfort may promise peace, but it delivers stagnation. Growth may demand struggle, but it delivers destiny. And when we shift from comfort to growth, we discover that the very things we feared were the very things we needed. For greatness is never found in ease, it is found in the courage to grow beyond it. Chapter 7. From Consumption to Creation. Consumption is passive. It takes without giving. It fills the mind but empties the soul. Consumption is the endless scrolling, the constant watching, the perpetual receiving of what others have built. It is the habit of feeding on the labor of others without producing fruit of our own. Consumption whispers, take more, enjoy more, indulge more. But in the end, it leaves us empty, restless, and dependent. Creation, however, is active. It gives life to ideas and value to others. By wisdom a house is built. Creation is the act of shaping, building, and contributing. Consumption drains, but creation sustains. Creation is the expression of purpose. It is the act of turning thought into reality, of transforming invisible ideas into tangible impact. Consumption asks, what can I get? But creation asks, what can I give? Consumption ends with self, but creation extends to others. Creation is the spark of innovation, the heartbeat of progress, the rhythm of legacy. It is the courage to say, I will not only take from the world, I will add to it. This shift changes everything, because it transforms us from takers into makers, from spectators into participants, from consumers of life into creators of destiny. When we embrace creation, we discover joy in contribution. Consumption may entertain for a moment, but creation fulfills for a lifetime. Consumption ends in emptiness, but creation ends in legacy. Consumption makes us dependent, but creation makes us independent. Gratitude fuels creation, because when we are thankful for what we have, we are inspired to multiply it. Creation is not about perfection, it is about participation. It is the willingness to try, to build, to share, even if the outcome is small. For even the smallest creation carries more weight than endless consumption. Creation is the seed of abundance. It multiplies resources, strengthens communities, and enriches lives. Consumption says, there is not enough, so I must take. Creation says, there is more than enough, so I will give. Consumption breeds envy, but creation breeds generosity. Consumption looks inward, but creation looks outward. And in that outward gaze, we find fulfillment, because true joy is not found in what we receive, but in what we create and contribute. To live as a creator is to live with purpose. It is to wake each day with the question, what can I build today? What can I contribute? What can I leave behind? Consumption may fill the hours, but creation fills the soul. Consumption may pass the time, but creation redeems the time. And when we shift from consumption to creation, we discover that fulfillment is not measured by what we take in, but by what we pour out. Creation is the seed of legacy, and legacy is the harvest of a life well lived. Chapter 8. From Doubt to Confidence. Doubt cripples potential. It whispers, you are not enough. You cannot succeed. You will surely fail. Doubt is the silent saboteur of dreams, the invisible weight that keeps vision grounded and prevents destiny from taking flight. It magnifies weakness, exaggerates obstacles, and blinds us to possibility. Doubt paralyzes, leaving us stuck in hesitation, afraid to act, afraid to try, afraid to believe. But confidence, however, empowers potential. Confidence declares, you are capable. You are equipped. You are stronger than you think. The righteous are bold as a lion. Confidence mobilizes, turning hesitation into action and fear into courage. Confidence is not arrogance. It is assurance rooted in wisdom. It is the courage to act even when uncertain, the strength to move forward even when the path is unclear. Doubt sees obstacles, but confidence sees opportunities. Doubt says, "This mountain is too high." Confidence replies, "This mountain is climbable." Doubt says, "You might fail." Confidence answers, "Even if I fail, I will rise again." This shift changes everything because it transforms hesitation into action, weakness into strength, and impossibility into possibility. When we embrace confidence, we discover that courage grows with use. Confidence is not a gift bestowed, it is a muscle developed. Each time we act despite fear, confidence grows stronger. Each time we speak when silence feels safer, confidence deepens. Each time we step forward when retreat feels easier, confidence expands. Doubt shrinks dreams, but confidence enlarges them. Doubt builds walls, but confidence builds bridges. Doubt keeps us waiting, but confidence keeps us moving. Confidence is the bridge between vision and reality. It is the force that carries ideas from imagination into manifestation. Without confidence, dreams remain locked in the mind. With confidence, they are released into the world. Confidence is the evidence of belief, the outward expression of inner assurance. It is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to act in spite of fear. And in that decision lies transformation, because confidence turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. To live with confidence is to live with boldness. It is to stand tall in the face of adversity, to speak truth in the midst of doubt, to act with courage when others hesitate. Confidence is not reckless, it is resilient. It is not prideful, it is purposeful. And when we shift from doubt to confidence, we discover that boldness is not just a trait, it is a bridge. A bridge that carries us from vision to reality, from intention to fulfillment, from potential to destiny. Chapter 9. From short-term pleasure to long-term vision. Short-term pleasure is fleeting. It satisfies for a moment, but leaves emptiness in its wake. It is the sweet taste that quickly turns bitter, the spark that burns out before it becomes a flame. Pleasure distracts, pulling our eyes from the horizon and fixing them on the immediate. It whispers, "Enjoy now, worry later." But later always comes, and with it the consequences of neglect. Vision, however, sustains. Vision guides decisions, fuels perseverance, and anchors the soul in purpose. Where there is no vision, the people perish. Pleasure entertains, but vision endures. Pleasure consumes, but vision creates. Vision is the compass of destiny. It is the ability to see beyond today into tomorrow, to look past the temporary and behold the eternal. Pleasure asks, "What feels good now?" But vision asks, "What builds good later?" Pleasure seeks comfort, but vision seeks legacy. Pleasure is reactive, responding to the moment. Vision is proactive, shaping the future. This shift changes everything, because it transforms indulgence into investment, distraction into direction, and fleeting satisfaction into lasting fulfillment. When we embrace vision, we discover that sacrifice today creates strength tomorrow. The athlete who trains instead of indulging The student who studies instead of wasting time, the leader who plans instead of procrastinating, all are living by vision, not pleasure. Pleasure fades quickly, but vision endures through storms, setbacks, and seasons of waiting. Vision teaches us that the pain of discipline is temporary, but the reward of perseverance is eternal. Vision is the architect of greatness. It builds bridges where pleasure builds walls. It creates pathways where pleasure creates detours. Vision is the ability to endure discomfort because the destination is worth it. Pleasure says, take the easy road. Vision says, take the right road. Pleasure offers temporary relief, but vision offers permanent transformation. Vision is the seed of legacy, the blueprint of destiny, the map that guides us through valleys and toward mountaintops. To live with vision is to live with purpose. It is to measure success not by moments, but by legacies. It is to endure hardship with hope, to embrace sacrifice with joy, and to walk through life with eyes fixed on the horizon. Pleasure may entertain the present, but vision secures the future. And when we shift from short-term pleasure to long-term vision, we discover that true success is not measured in fleeting moments of indulgence, but in the enduring impact of a life lived with purpose. Chapter 10. From Limitation to Possibility. Limitation says, it cannot be done. Possibility says, it can be done. Limitation closes doors, but possibility opens them wide. Limitation builds walls, but possibility builds bridges. Limitation shrinks horizons, but possibility expands them into endless skies. With God, all things are possible. This truth reminds us that impossibility is often a human perception, not a divine reality. Limitation is the language of fear, but possibility is the language of faith. Possibility is the language of creativity and vision. It sees beyond barriers into solutions, beyond obstacles into opportunities. Limitation fears failure, but possibility embraces learning. Limitation says, this is the end. Possibility says, this is the beginning of something new. Limitation focuses on what cannot be controlled, but possibility focuses on what can be created. This shift changes everything because it transforms impossibility into opportunity, despair into hope, and defeat into determination. When we embrace possibility, we discover that boundaries are often illusions. Many of the greatest breakthroughs in history were once considered impossible until someone dared to believe otherwise. Limitation shrinks horizons, but possibility expands them. Limitation says, stay where you are. Possibility says, step forward, for the unknown holds treasures yet unseen. Limitation binds us to the past, but possibility releases us into the future. Possibility is the seed of innovation. It is the courage to ask, what if? And the boldness to answer, why not? Limitation says, it has never been done. Possibility replies, then let me be the first. Limitation sees obstacles as barriers. Possibility sees them as stepping stones. Limitation waits for perfect conditions. Possibility creates conditions through action. Possibility is not naive optimism, it is disciplined faith, the belief that effort, vision, and persistence can turn dreams into reality. To live in possibility is to live in freedom. It is to see every challenge as a doorway, every setback as a lesson, and every impossibility as an invitation to grow. Limitation may whisper defeat, but possibility shouts victory. Limitation may paralyze, but possibility energizes. And when we shift from limitation to possibility, we discover that the impossible is often just the untried, waiting for courage to attempt and faith to endure. Chapter 11. From Stagnation to Innovation. Stagnation is the silent erosion of progress. It is the comfort of routine without growth, the repetition of yesterday without the vision of tomorrow. Stagnation whispers, "Stay the same. It is safer here." Yet safety without progress becomes decline. "The hand of the diligent shall bear rule," says wisdom, reminding us that diligence is not mere repetition, but the pursuit of improvement. Stagnation clings to the familiar, fearing change, while innovation embraces the unknown, seeking new paths. Stagnation is the slow decay of potential, while innovation is the spark that ignites transformation. Innovation is not reckless novelty. It is purposeful creativity. It is the courage to ask, "What if there is a better way?" Stagnation resists questions, but innovation thrives on them. Stagnation says, "This is how it has always been." Innovation replies, "This is how it could be." Innovation is not about discarding the old for the sake of the new. It is about refining, improving, and reimagining. The shift from stagnation to innovation changes everything, because it transforms maintenance into advancement, survival into success, and repetition into reinvention. When we embrace innovation, we discover that progress is born from curiosity. Curiosity asks, "What lies beyond this boundary?" And innovation answers by crossing it. Stagnation keeps us bound to the past, but innovation propels us into the future. Stagnation says, "Do not risk. You might fail." Innovation says, "Risk." For even failure teaches. Stagnation is the comfort of the known, but innovation is the adventure of the unknown. This mindset shift teaches us that wisdom is not only preserving what works, but also creating what will work better. Innovation is the heartbeat of growth. It is the willingness to adapt, to evolve, to reinvent. Stagnation builds monuments to yesterday, but innovation builds bridges to tomorrow. Stagnation fears change, but innovation thrives on it. Innovation is the discipline of improvement, the art of progress, the science of transformation. It is the refusal to settle, the determination to rise, and the vision to see beyond what is into what could be. To live in innovation is to live in renewal. It is to wake each day with the question, "How can I improve? How can I create? How can I grow?" Stagnation may preserve comfort, but innovation preserves relevance. Stagnation may keep us safe, but innovation keeps us alive. And when we shift from stagnation to innovation, we discover that greatness is not preserved by holding on. It is achieved by continually adapting, creating, and moving forward. Chapter 12. From Survival to Legacy. Survival is living day to day, focused only on immediate needs. It is necessary at times, but insufficient for a life of meaning. Survival asks, "How can I make it through today?" And in doing so, it often forgets tomorrow. It is the mindset of scarcity, the posture of endurance without vision. A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children. Legacy, however, looks beyond today into generations yet unborn. Legacy asks not only how we live, but how we will be remembered. It is the mindset of abundance, the posture of foresight, the discipline of building beyond the self. Legacy is the fruit of vision and discipline. It is the impact of choices that echo beyond our lifetime. Survival consumes, but legacy contributes. Survival ends with us, but legacy extends beyond us. Survival is reactive, responding to the demands of the moment, but legacy is proactive, shaping the destiny of the future. Legacy is not measured by possessions, but by influence, the lessons we teach, the principles we uphold, the lives we touch. This shift changes everything because it transforms existence into significance, endurance into impact, and living into leaving. When we embrace legacy, we discover that our lives are seeds planted in the soil of time. Each word spoken, each act of kindness, each principle lived becomes a seed that grows into trees of influence, bearing fruit for generations to come. Survival may keep us alive, but legacy ensures we are remembered. Survival is about getting through. Legacy is about giving through. Survival is about today. Legacy is about tomorrow. And in that tomorrow lies the true measure of greatness. Legacy is the bridge between mortality and immortality. It is the way our lives continue long after our breath has ceased. Survival says, I must endure. Legacy says, I must inspire. Survival is about preserving self. Legacy is about serving others. Legacy is the decision to live intentionally, to craft a life that becomes a model of discipline, resilience, and generosity. It is the courage to ask, what will remain after I am gone? And the wisdom to live in such a way that the answer is meaningful. To live for legacy is to live for impact. It is to understand that greatness is not measured by what we gain, but by what we give. It is to see our lives not as isolated moments, but as chapters in a larger story. Survival may sustain us, but legacy elevates us. Survival may keep us alive, but legacy makes us unforgettable. And when we shift from survival to legacy, we discover that the true purpose of life is not merely to endure, but to ensure that our existence leaves behind a trail of wisdom, strength, and inspiration for generations yet to come. Closing summary. The greatest transformation begins with a single shift in the mind. When we move from victimhood to responsibility, from fear to faith, from scarcity to abundance, we unlock doors that were once closed. When we exchange excuses for discipline, complaining for gratitude, and comfort for growth, we begin to rise above the ordinary into the extraordinary. Proverbs remind us that as the mind thinks, so the life becomes. Indeed, the quality of our thoughts determines the quality of our destiny. This one mindset shift that life is not happening to us, but through us changes everything. It empowers us to rise above limitation, embrace possibility, and walk in wisdom. It teaches us that true wealth is not measured in possessions, but in perspective. It shows us that greatness is not found in survival, but in legacy. Each chapter has revealed a lantern of truth, responsibility, faith, abundance, discipline, gratitude, growth, creation, confidence, vision, possibility, innovation, and legacy. Together, they form a pathway, a roadmap for transformation that begins within and radiates outward. Remember, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Guard your mind, for it is the wellspring of destiny. Guard your words, for they shape the atmosphere around you. Guard your perspective, for it determines whether you see obstacles or opportunities. One mindset shift can indeed change everything, because it changes the way we interpret life, and interpretation shapes action, and action shapes destiny. The journey of transformation is not about perfection, it is about progression. It is about choosing daily to renew the mind, to embrace wisdom, to walk in discipline, and to live with gratitude. It is about daring to believe that the impossible is only the untried, and that legacy is built not in a single moment, but in a lifetime of intentional choices. So let this be your charge. Rise above fear, scarcity, excuses, and stagnation. Embrace faith, abundance, discipline, and innovation. Live not merely to survive, but to leave a legacy. For when you shift your mindset, you shift your life. And when you shift your life, you shift the world around you. One mindset shift can indeed change everything because it changes you. Thank you for listening. If this audiobook inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe to AI Audiobooks Empire. Remember, one mindset shift can change everything. Every act of discipline, courage, and faith plants seeds that grow into a legacy far beyond your years. The end.